It's the last show of the season, but it's the first contact for the crew of the Cerritos. Let's celebrate the event by talking about it on the internet. It's 7 p.m. Pacific, 10 p.m. Eastern. It's Monday night, and it's Mission Log Live. I'm John Champion.
And I'm Ashley Victoria Robinson, member of the Ritos crew. That only works if you can see me. Tonight, it's time to wrap it all up for season 2 of Lower Decks. Sad face from me. It is time to take your calls and your comments on episode 10, First Contact. Will the Packlets be back? Will Captain Freeman be back? Let's reminisce and speculate. And you know what to do, of course. Click the Zoom meeting link or use the one tap on your smartphone or call us at 669-900-6833. That will connect you to Earl, whom we love, and get you into the Earl Green Room, which we love, so you can talk to us, who we love, tonight. If you're prompted for a meeting code and a password, they're on screen, they're in the chat. You got it, no problem, my friends.
There is so much love. You covered so much love in your intro. Thank you for that.
I have a lot of love. My hands don't make a heart because they're weird shaped, but I also think that Trek encompasses a lot of love, which we talk about a lot in the Moral Meanings messages. So we just really want to put it out on my last episode.
I don't want to derail the show, but I never knew you had problematic hands.
I don't know what's wrong
here
with them, but they don't make a heart. Again, only for the people watching. they don't make a heart. They're too small and weird.
Tragic, small, weird hands. But glad to have you. And yes, it is our last show together talking about Lower Decks. It is sad. Yeah, but you know what? I'm glad to be here. And I always enjoy that we get to have guest co-hosts. I enjoy that Norman and I got to bounce back and forth. And you know what, Ashley? I'm going to do what you do. I'm going to speak something, put it out to the universe and say, you'll be back. There will be more of Ashley in the Mission Log world.
Well, if you say so, John, it might just happen.
Okay.
Hashtag cryptic tweets.
There we go. Let us also welcome the fine folks who are joining us tonight live. Some of you are over on YouTube, and hello to you. And some of you are here in Facebook, where I just happen to be monitoring the chat. So I'm going to go ahead and give a shout out to Paul, to Samuel, to David. They're all talking about an interview that I will refer to in a moment. There's Carlos, there's Chris, there's Brian, and oh my gosh, Michael, Evelyn. You have to correct me. There's Vince. Vince says banana hot from Milwaukee. So
how dare you? How dare?
There's my buddy Scott Palm, and my gosh. And see, Paul's already saying, "Yay! Please come back, Ashley."
Oh, so, I mean, if you insist.
Okay.
This is my arm being twisted.
Yeah, right. And Paul Wright points out that we do have a Paul Facta tonight. So welcome to all the Pauls. And everybody, even if your name isn't Paul, you are welcome here at Mission Log Live. Glad to see you all. So let's talk about what is coming up in Mission Log World. Now, next week, again, sad face that you will not be here next week because, well, we're done with Lower Decks. But that doesn't mean the Mission Log Live goes away necessarily. We do have a few more live shows coming up. And my gosh, we've got Discovery, we've got Prodigy, we have all these other Star Treks happening. So there will be more live shows, more stuff to cover that. But next week, Norman and I are going to do something special. There's a guy that we work with named Rod. Rod Roddenberry is his name. In fact, if you haven't met him, come back next Monday because you'll meet him then. We will have Rod on the show as our special guest. We'll be talking about what is coming up in Mission Log World, what shows to look out for, how we're going to be handling, because I've gotten this question from a few people. How are you handling Prodigy? How are you handling Discovery? And what's next? Because, of course,
these are the important questions, John.
Right. You've got holidays coming up, and then who knows? You got more Trek. We're expecting Picard Season 2, Strange New Worlds, and then I figure by the time you get through all of that, we'll have Lower Decks Season 3. Who knows?
Ooh.
Yeah, so we'll talk about all of that with Rod next week. And then this week, this coming Thursday on Mission Log, Deep Space Nine, The Emperor's New Cloak, the one where we go back to the Mirror Universe, this time for the last time. I swear we really mean it. That will be dropping on Thursday. And then tomorrow night, Norman and I will be recording Field of Fire. So that'll go up early in our Patreon feed, so you can check that out and certainly join us Thursday afternoons for our live have weekly chat in Discord exclusive to our Patreon. Speaking of Patreon, we do a little shout out at the mid-show, and I will just tease that here and say that something very special happened in Patreon today. So for those of you who are not members yet, hang on, you'll want to know about that. So, yeah. Now, I am told that we have many callers standing by because I think there's a lot of excitement about tonight's show. This was a really cool episode of Lower Decks. There's a lot to pick apart here and speculate about the future. So if you don't mind, I'll just get right into it with the recap.
Do it.
Okay. Tonight's show, First Contact. In Space Dock, Admiral Freeman gives orders to Captain Freeman and Captain Sonia Gomez. The Cerritos will hang out and support the Archimedes crew on their first contact mission to the LAP system to greet the Leperians. Nobody expects anything to go wrong. Just stay out of the way of an unstable planetoid, then swoop in after that all-important first greeting. One more thing. Freeman is offered a promotion to another ship, and that means leaving her crew behind. A tidbit Ensign Mariner happens to overhear. Lots happening on the Cerritos. Boimler is making banners for Captain Freeman Day. Rutherford is getting errors in his cybernetic system, which is blocking his vision. Mariner lets it drop that she knows about Captain Freeman's promotion. That puts everyone in the senior staff on edge as they vie for attention from their CO and some answers if they'll be going with her. And poor Tendi overhears some bad news that according to Dr. Tana, she's not cut out for medical. Sad that she'll lose her job and get reassigned to another ship, she and Rutherford embark on a last tour of all her favorite places on the Cerritos. Arriving in the LAP system, the sun emits an unexpected flare which scatters ionized material from that mysterious planetoid. The fragments utterly disable the Archimedes, which is drifting out of control toward the Leperian homeworld. It'll crash in 20 hours, causing massive destruction on the planet. With the Cerritos just behind and seeing what happened, they've got to get into action fast. No option is a good one, as the ionized debris would be attracted to the ship's tractor beam and hull, rendering the Cerritos inoperable too. Desperate for a solution, Freeman goes to her yacht, thinking through a possible way to navigate the field, but Mariner spars with her mother about her abilities. It's a fight that gets personal, with Freeman calling out her daughter for using cockiness to overcompensate. And it just so happens Rutherford and Tendi were sneaking around the yacht as part of their tour and overheard the whole thing. Regardless, Rutherford has a plan so crazy it just might work. Strip the Cerritos of its outer hull, anything that would attract those ionized particles. They can fly through the debris field and catch up to the Archimedes before it's too late. But now it's going to take all of the Cerritos crew working together around the clock to strip off every last piece of hull plating. It's working, even if Rutherford slows down a bit when his internal storage maxes out due to all the backups of his memories with Tendi. Aww. But he erases them, and in the rewind may have even stumbled across something he shouldn't have. The job is done, all except for one last stubborn hull plate. The internal access can only be reached through cetacean ops, but a human will have to swim through the submerged Jeffries tube to do it. Mariner leaps to action, but she's needed on the bridge, and she needs to apologize to her mother, which she does, and then takes position as Cerritos starts to navigate through the debris field. Meanwhile, it's Boimler's turn to shine as he dives in to find the manual release. It works, but a rip in his spacesuit causes him to pass out and nearly drown if not for the heroic efforts of Matt and Kimolu, the resident beluga whales who bring him to the deck. There, Tendi can resuscitate a delirious Boimler. As the Cerritos makes its way through the debris field, taking a beating, the Archimedes starts its entry into the Leperian atmosphere. The ship begins to heat up, and one of the nacelles breaks off, until the last second when the Cerritos arrives, activates the tractor beam, and holds the Archimedes in stable orbit. It's only fitting, then, that Captain Freeman herself gets the pleasure of first contact with the Leperians, and they are ready to party! Celebrating aboard the Cerritos later, it's cheers all around to the heroes of the day, which is everybody, really. They all worked as a team, and it's a banner day for Captain Freeman. literally and figuratively. Even Tendi gets some unexpected good news. Tana is so impressed with her that Tendi has been recommended to train as science officer. That means time on the bridge, away missions, the whole deal. As the celebration continues, Starfleet officials show up, and Freeman assumes it's about the promotion. She's not going to take it. No, she appreciates too much the crew she has around her. But Starfleet have arrived with some very different news. Captain Freeman is under arrest for the destruction of the Pac-led homeworld, accused of colluding with the Klingons who placed a Veruvian bomb under the capital city. With that, Captain Freeman is taken away in handcuffs as her stunned crew look on. The end. Right.
Honestly, so sad, but so good.
Sad, but so good. I mean, my note that I sort of started with, and I'm sure that I'll end with, is that here we have Lower Decks doing what I think it does best, which is, yeah, it's comedy, it's fun, there are jokes, there are references galore, but they turned in a dramatic episode with real stakes. And I think everything added to that, like our journey with the characters, the soundtrack, the special effects, oh my God, everything was so good.
And the themes were so clear throughout this episode. I know if I've mentioned this a couple times, and if anyone's into story circles, you can sometimes see where this is going. But the minute sweet baby Sonia came back from TNG, and she was a captain, and she was gorgeous, and she was living her best life, I was like, that's so great, because that moment is meme-ified because it's so cringy and so horrific. And I was like, oh my gosh, he's Boimler. Like, that is where he's going. It was so cool.
Right, exactly. Well, look, I am so excited about this episode, and I'm thrilled with our episode of Mission Log Live tonight because there's like 900 people lined up to chat with us tonight.
Okay.
So, and how exciting is this that coming up right now, our first caller, Chris, check out the t-shirt. Yes,
I knew Chris
show,
had an
Chris.
excellent
Let me
choice.
talk so the people can see it. There we go.
Yeah.
Repping the Doritos. John, you obviously didn't get the memo. Come on, man.
I did not. Clearly. Oh, I feel so left out. But at least you two are rocking the sartorial splendor. Chris, what is on your mind tonight?
Well, once again, Lower Decks has turned in a wonderful season finale. I think it's very easy to say they've done the best season finales out of all the new Trek we've gotten so far. My favorite part was actually the Jennifer redemption friendship arc. Just because you take Jennifer, who is in the beginning nothing more than a gag, it's Jennifer, she's an Andorian, she's sassy, and you develop her again with so little screen time, but you feel for her and where she's going, and I think she's going to join the squad in season 3, which I'm very excited about. So, yes.
Wait, who do you want to kiss now?
Oh man, I want Jennifer and Mariner to kiss so bad. And when we had the moment where she was like, "Yeah, I'm just mean to people," and "Oh, so you're saying you like me?" I was like,
Yes.
just kiss. That's all I want." I'm sorry, Chris, to cut you off. I got really excited.
Oh no, but yes, it's just so wonderful, and this has been a wonderful episode, and firing on all cylinders, as Lower Decks often does.
I'm glad you mentioned that moment because I specifically left it out of my recap for timing. There was just so much that could have been included here, but I did have it in my notes because, like you, I was so pleasantly surprised with a character with maybe in this episode less than 60 seconds of screen time, if you add it all up, but timed out perfectly. So you got exactly what you needed out of that mini arc within all these other gigantic arcs going on. So smart, so well done. And it shows kind of the, we always talk about this on Mission Log, kind of the strengths and weaknesses of doing serialized versus episodic. And there is not necessarily one that is better than the other, but sometimes, depending on the storytelling, you have one that lends itself better to the story at hand. And I feel like Lower Decks has hit the sweet spot for me in many regards, where they are standalone episodes, but there is such great payoff because they drop these little threads that they don't forget about. And that was always the cardinal sin of TNG, especially, is you felt like this is more modern storytelling. But wait, what happened to those people? What happened to these people? And LDS is just they've really hit it out of the park with that.
Also, on that note of like the threads coming together and callbacks, when Boimler wakes up and he says, "I've seen a koala," that is the best callback. I'm like, and I'm calling it now. The koala is going to be like the big bad of like season 4 or 5.
Whoa!
It's going to come back in like a Q kind of role. Like the koala has big arcs coming.
Wow.
I just imagine like in Futurama where they do the Star Trek parody episode and it's Melvar and he's the ultimate fanboy. I imagine the koala kind of filling that type of role where he's like, I know how to spell Tendi.
That's great. That's excellent. Chris, it is always such a pleasure. I would love to chat more. As you know, from hanging out in the Earl Green room, he said it's a veritable Hollywood Squares in there with the number of people. So I'll send you back to the green room and we will take our next caller.
All right. Sounds good.
All right.
Bye, shirt twin.
Bye.
And joining us this week, as he does very often, we have now the Vice Admiral. Welcome to the show, Vice Admiral. How you doing tonight?
I'm great. How are you guys?
Doing okay.
So good.
Yeah, this
Good.
is an exciting episode. So what is on your mind, my friend?
Well, I have to say that I never expected an all of Trek, but I suppose only a show like Lower Decks could have done it, where we actually get to see the ship naked.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
It's the naked time. It's a theme. It's from TOS. We're carrying it through a proud tradition.
Exactly. I mean, John has the wonderful cutaway of the D back there, which I have in my basement as well. But
Yeah.
you know what's missing from that?
What?
There's no cetacean ops in that.
Oh, there is. We can go fix that. We can get a Sharpie.
Well,
And,
it's just one of the big open areas, right?
yeah, exactly. Hey, let me ask you both about that, because that was something that really stood out to me in this episode. There are so many times watching Lower Decks when I feel like, I've called them out for doing the list of references, but with that said, they have surprised me over and over again by telling very original stories. I don't think I have ever seen such a thing in Star Trek as is going off and removing the hull plating in order to solve this, otherwise kind of techno-babbly question. Had this been TNG, they would have figured out a way to just reverse the polarity, the deflector, blah, blah, blah. Geordi would have done a thing and we would have sailed right through.
Right.
This was a huge undertaking and really the kind of thing you can only do in animation. Maybe now it would be easier with CG if you were trying to do this in a live action context, but still, that would just be a huge undertaking. This seemed like a wholly original solution that we have not seen in Star Trek before. Am I right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I would go so far. Sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say, you said it was easier, but I don't know if it would be cheaper to do in
right.
fully rendered. Like the effects that we get in New Trek are so like I think about the Discovery like stripped down. I'm like, it'd be the whole cost of the episode. Like I get anxious thinking about
Yeah, it really would, but they really pulled it off, and that was one of my other notes, is just that the special effects overall, like if that had been the only set piece in this, where we're going to spend time and show everybody out there on the hull, pulling it apart and the plates flying away, which look great. If that had been the only set piece in this episode, that would have been fine. But the other thing they did is they brought in all these other very cool ships. And I'm telling you, the Archimedes, there were times that I was watching that I would just go like, wait, this is still Lower Decks, right? Because it looked like, it looked like a very cinematic use of a model, or a very high-end CG model that was gorgeous. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I want to see that in Eagle Moss at some point in the near future.
Absolutely. Yeah.
You can see my eagle over my shoulder, John.
Oh, I'm just, I'm filled with a rageful envy. So I'll have one. I'll have one soon enough. Yeah. Beautiful.
I know.
Any other thoughts tonight, sir?
I say the only other thing I'd say is that, we got not just one really great cliffhanger, but we got two, right? Because of course, Rutherford's implant being not given to him by Vulcans, even though it's supposedly a Vulcan thing,
Mhm.
that's going to definitely come back to us with, one must assume, a section of Starfleet that's in the charter but isn't exactly recognized by most people, et cetera, et cetera.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. Interesting little tidbit to drop in there. Yes.
Sad, so sad though.
I know.
Until
But
we know
hopefully
more.
not.
Yeah.
Look, this show hasn't made me cry yet, and I'm not prepared for the episode that's going to make me cry.
Oh, wow. That day will come. I
it
feel
will.
like it will.
I'm certain
yeah.
it will.
Without doubt.
Yeah.
Well, guys,
Excellent.
it was great sharing the season with you, and I'm sure we'll talk some more in the future. But I know you got a lot of more people to get to. So hey,
Excellent. We'll talk to you soon. Thank
Have a
you.
good night.
good night, both of
Cheers.
you. Take care.
Take care. Hey, and before we bring in Dave here, who is standing by, other Dave in the chat room, he said something interesting. Hi, all, just popping in to say hello from a family function. And then he says, I enjoyed the episode, but disappointed it was a to be continued. I much prefer a complete season ender. Any thoughts about that, Ashley? Agree? Disagree?
I would say I generally agree. I think that this is closed enough. Like all the character arcs were closed, so it doesn't bother me as much as it does with the first time I watched the camera pan around to Riker, and then I was like, when is this? I'm watching this. I'm watching this 12 years after it aired. When is this ever going to finish? I am
Right.
devastated. I think it's I think that to be continued is much more like, don't worry, we're like almost done on season 3. She's coming, more than I think a story beat. So I wasn't particularly bothered by it, but if anyone was, your feelings are valid and I understand you.
Yeah. Well said. Well said. I got nothing to add to that, except let's bring in Dave, who this is Dave, not other Dave, who, or maybe this is other Dave. And the
Do
other
we have a
Dave
Dave
is Dave.
fecta going on as well?
We might. Welcome to the show, Dave. How's it going? How are you, sir? By the way, Dave and I had dinner last night. Pleasure to see you then. Pleasure to see you
brag,
now.
brag.
I know, right? How you doing?
The food was excellent. It was absolutely the greatest.
I like a good restaurant. So, what is on your mind tonight about Lower Decks?
Well, I got to say, I had a chance to watch this on one of my recent trips, and when I came home, I watched it again. I've never been a big fan of animation. I've always admitted that. I never did well with my friends that were into anime, Comic-Con. I mean, I didn't hate it, but it was never my thing. This is the first time I've watched what I would call like an animation show, and I wanted to be in it. I felt like I want to be on the Cerritos. And so I feel like I'm watching something that could it be live action, it could be animation. So that's what I feel like when I watch that show, and I had to say it. Beyond that, I was going to bring up what I mentioned to you yesterday about Dr. Shax's line. Did anybody have a chance to rewatch it and look for that subtitle?
Okay, so I looked for it and I did not see it. So if somebody has done a screen grab of this, I love this idea so much. So please, somebody confirm it, figure it out, do a screen grab if you can. That you said that there is a line in there where somebody calls out Dr. Aaron, that it is Shax, right?
Yeah.
Calls out our friend of the show, Dr. Aaron McDonald, by saying like, Dr. Aaron says you can't do that, or
Right.
something along those lines.
So Kayshawn sitting there says, "Why don't we just warp across the asteroids?" And everybody goes berserk.
Yeah.
And in the background of all that audio, Shax says, "Dr. Aaron said we can't do that." And so I wanted to ask Fred Tatasciore.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, you don't have him on the show, but if he knew what that meant, or if somebody said, "Hey, do you know Dr. Aaron? She advises us," So I don't know.
Ooh.
That has got to happen.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. But I want to go back to your first comment because people are only seeing us, one video at a time. But we have the luxury here of seeing the whole preview. And when you said that you wanted to be on the Cerritos, Ashley lit up.
I
And
was so
there were claps.
delighted
Yeah.
because I'm like a dyed in the I never grew out of my Disney face. So I've always really loved animation. So when people are like, it's not their thing, that's totally fine. But I'm always a little devastated. But the arc that you took me on with, but I wanted to be there, and I thought it was cool. Like, that's so lovely, and that's, I think, a great strength of the show, is that once it convinces people, we all see, look, no one's coming here to dunk on the show, obviously, because that's not what we're about, but that just really made me happy. And so I was just enjoying that you took me on a journey in your journey. So thank you for sharing that.
Speaking of Disney, that's Disneyland behind me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Go to the Haunted Mansion. It's my favorite place.
But you know, I was going to say, it's not just beyond that. It's, and first, I think when I started watching it, John, it felt like they were giving some fan service, and I think it was very exciting. We all know that, and it's very good. And I think there was a time in which we wanted it to take off on its own, and this season it definitely did. Sure, there's been fan service. There's been the episode with all the artifacts. There's been Tom Paris, but it seems like we're telling a story about these people now.
Yeah.
And I think that's, you know, I can't wait to see 3, 4, 5, seasons down the road where these people go.
Yeah, no, that's a great way of putting it. And I think just one of the things about every iteration of Star Trek is that you spend time in those places. You spend time on the Enterprise. You spend time at Deep Space Nine. You get to know those spaces in your mind, and they feel very real. That's why anybody who went to Star Trek The Experience, you walk around the promenade and you're like, oh yeah, I'm in the promenade. I know how this works, you know? And Lower Decks, I think, had a few things working against it when we first saw it, which is not only is it new and we have to warm up to the characters, but it is animation, so it's a style we're not used to absorbing in Star Trek's quote-unquote reality. But they have done such a good job at making us emotionally invested in the characters, and such a good job of fully fleshing out the use of that ship. I love their bar / mess hall / hangout lounge, like that. I think is one of my favorite spaces on the ship. So I love it every time you cut to a scene in there. And they've, we spend a lot less time on the bridge here, but even going into Lower Decks where they all have their bunks, it's like, it now feels comfortable and familiar just as much as anything else on any of the other Trek shows have felt real in that way. But it's a testament to, I think, the writing, but it's also a testament to just making good choices out of where they play those scenes and how they play them. It is animation. They could go anywhere, as they did this week with Cetacean Ops, but they've made a choice to really make those things live around those characters, make the characters live in them too.
I just want to say your note about Cetacean Ops that nobody except you, myself, and Earl, I think, can see is my favorite thing.
Oh, I'll just read it. I'll read it right now. My note is this. How about those beluga whales? Pretty horny. So that's, I love them, and I expect them to have a fully fleshed out life of their own. I expect consumer products. I expect fan fiction. I expect the whole thing.
They outrank Harry Kim, so they've got that going for them.
Yes, they do. Oh my God. Dave, anything else tonight before we say goodnight?
No, just looking forward to more. Looking forward to it.
Indeed. Excellent. Take care, my friend. Have a good one.
Bye.
Let's jump over to friend of the show. He's one of many, but that doesn't make them any less special on their own. It's Paul. I'm not going to say which Paul until he speaks. There he is. There's Paul.
Representing all the Pauls. I consider them, just great friends through this programming that we've met and had a great time together. For real. Yeah. Well, welcome to the show. And part of that is, thanks, John. Thanks, Ashley. I want to thank you both for 10 weeks of just amazing stuff. It believe it or not, this all started back when Trek Vegas was going on, because we watched the first one live at Vegas. Oh man, you're right. And, Michigan sees the change of weather. It's now about 40 outside, but we go from 100 degrees of Vegas to now, but it's just been, what a great run. And Ashley, I want to thank you for all your energy as always. I'll never forget. This is the best.
I always drink a cup of coffee before I come on, and I feel like that does a lot of the heavy lifting.
We couldn't tell at all.
No, I think I cover it well.
I got just a couple real quick points because that green room is full. The ship's animation on the Constellation, whatever that one is, it looks like
Archimedes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Have you noticed how that looks almost like the Prodigy animation?
Oh,
Look at it real
yeah.
close. It is amazingly different, the detail, and I'm not sure the 3D effects on it. It just seems like they're trying to slowly upgrade everything as they
Not
go
me
along
taking notes for if I can refer to this in the future.
I just noticed it in the second watch. The other thing was the way the spaceship flipped end over end was really cool versus
yes.
We watched basically Star Trek 5 in reverse. You had the ship spinning and then the planet blow up at the end, right?
Mhm.
So that was really cool, and it's another thing they can do in animation that they can do in real model effects, right? That would be so hard. Well, you could do it, but it'd just be much harder than drawing it that way.
It would take so many passes to do that, and that if you did it, with traditional miniatures or anything. But even in CG, I keep trying to wrap my head around what the difference is, and if I try to rationalize it, I think the Cerritos, very cleverly so, feels like like hand-drawn animation, but then laid over a 3D frame. So it has that dimensional effect, but you look at the colors and you look at some of the just the textures there, and it's this mishmash of hand-drawn and 3D. Then you look at a ship like the Archimedes and you just go, okay, that's ready for the big screen. That just looks like something that was rendered for a movie or a live action TV show. So those textures were very real. It felt very tangible. And then in those action scenes where it is flipping over and you see it lose power, it felt like you're watching Star Trek. I mean, come on, it's like animation and live action at that point are sort of those lines get very blurry. And I think it's a very clever use of this show.
Yeah, and it goes back to my first point. I think you pointed out to me, John, is how different the characters are drawn, like in that 2D versus that real in-depth 3D of the ships. That's
Right.
a really good point.
Yeah.
So I know you're busy with lots of people. I got one last thing, probably the best quote for me the entire year from the Cat Doctor when our friend Tendi goes, like Jadzia Dax? And she goes, who the F is Jadzia Dax?
Disrespect.
No, like Spock.
Yes.
It was just roll on the floor laughing twice. She is Julian, what's her, Miss Vigman. When you had her on, she's so amazing.
Julian,
she's just so amazing.
So good. And I love that as a choice. It's one of those things you feel like you can only get away with every now and then if you drop in a swear and then you bleep it out. But when you commit to it and you have Dr. Tana is just constantly cursing like a drunken sailor and then you bleep it every time, I love that as a character choice. Yeah.
Yes, just amazing. So
so good.
Live long and prosper, both of you. We'll see you down the line. And good luck with all the people coming.
Have a great night, Paul.
Thanks,
Have
you
a
too.
great night. Yes, quite the lineup tonight. And Earl from the Earl Green Room has said, there's a long list here. He's good with going long. We won't keep anybody too long, but if we need to, we'll go a couple of minutes
for sure.
late. But hey, I can't wait to get the story on this because he's calling from a long way away. Here's Matthew. Matthew. Where are you? What is going on? Oh, you're mute. Oh no. Wait.
Okay, there we go.
There we
There
go.
we go.
All right.
No, I'm calling you from my native Hawaii, right?
Aloha.
My problem
Aloha.
was I couldn't figure out how to do the hat and the headphones, but I guess we should go with the headphones.
There you go.
Prep my T-shirt here for you.
Oh my God. That just does not get old to me at all. Red Alarm, I think, is one of the greatest gifts that Lower Decks has given us.
Red alarm.
Yeah.
I
About
want
an
that on
hour
my
ago,
phone.
I
Yeah.
asked my wife, do we have any red markers? She was like, what do you need it for? It's like something stupid.
That's
I
awesome.
prepped. I'm ready. I got my ukulele, right? I have a festive
man.
drink, right? But it's 11:30 in the morning. I have to drive, so it's not actually open yet.
Well, okay,
But,
fair enough.
It's
fair
my
enough.
vacation.
Nice.
As far as this episode, I don't know. Things I was happy to see, of course, were cetacean ops. We've been waiting 30 years for that.
Yeah, right.
They got the
as
dolphins
as someone
right.
in Hawaii, right? The water and the water mammals really speak to you.
Yeah.
There you go.
Well, about 20 years ago, this is actually New Brunswick, Canada. I was working at the whale camp, and we were on boats all the time. So, and
No
a few
way.
times I would be looking over the side of like this clipper ship, right? And the dolphins would come out just like that, going, probably saying, "Why don't you come skinny dip with us?" But that would be my assumption.
That's well. Now you know. Now you know what they're saying,
Yeah.
and all of that untranslated whale speak. Who knew?
Fun fact, pretty much all of my family is currently in New Brunswick, Canada.
Oh, right,
right on.
Grand Manan Island, then, yeah.
Oh, Grand Manan, lovely.
Yeah.
Wow,
Very
jealous.
cool place. But I also got a cold from a whale. It breached next to us, and when that blowhole, when it's stuck, it's the whale's doing this, honk, right? And it got on me, and the next day I was like sick. I was like, I got a cold from a whale, didn't I?
Oh man,
Got to be careful.
it's pretty cool.
The couple things maybe I was like hoping to see but didn't quite get was I really do want to see our other Boimler still. He has not made a return. I thought he would for the finale. That and the idea last week that maybe we get someone like Michael Dorn showing up, which still hopefully still happened. But I was ready for some Worf or something, so that was cool. I like to turn the tables a lot and then start asking the question. So a few things I was thinking of, what do we want to see next season? If you had your writer's hat on, what would be Boimler's next indignity?
Oh man! Wow. Well, but go ahead, Ashley. Go ahead.
You have in not in this episode, but in the previous episode, we saw that cadet kind of someone knows Valeria somewhere screaming his name, and I can't remember. I'm so sorry. They partner up. The cadet gets promoted to lieutenant before Boimler does. That's the indignity I would pitch off the top of my head.
Oh, that's really good. Oh, I like that. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, I don't think I actually, I can't top that at all. I mean, I love that he had his heroic moment, and it wasn't an indignity at all that he nearly drowned. I mean, he suffered for his heroism. He had courage to do that job. He survived, thank goodness. I feel like, we have to circle back around to what is happening to other Boimler. And I think other Boimler is exceeding and thriving all of Boimler's expectations. I think that'll be the ultimate indignity is, what could have been. I don't want it to be a downer. I think yours is much more fun.
Yours is much more classic Trek, though, because it's a twist on the mirror universe trope, right? Except they both exist in the same universe. Right,
exactly. So
I'm hoping for the thing where is it Night Terrors, where Geordi in TNG turns into that weird, like, kind of grayish, veiny thing.
Oh my gosh, I haven't thought about that in so long.
I want Boimler to have a run of that illness.
Nice.
I wouldn't be mad about it, honestly. That'd be fun.
That would be.
And
anything else tonight?
Just one thing, being in my my native Hawaii or Japan or whatever it is. I actually have a really nice like tatami room door behind me, but nope, didn't do it tonight. But
oh well.
Since you're in California, what is the next California class ship need to be? The next name. You get a title one.
Look, I'm going to steal this directly from Norman because Norman has nailed it, and
yes.
He's right. It needs to be San Luis Obispo because the shirt needs to be what we call it out here, slow, SLO. So you need a slow shirt, and then maybe a Pac-Led gets it. We don't know, but I think San Luis Obispo is it. Yeah,
they do a good job at picking tiny little towns too. So I would also offer up Bakersfield because that's funny to me.
Bakersfield, Solvang, Reseda.
Solvang, yes,
Solvang would
showing
be
out for
great.
the Danes.
Yes, I would love that if we had one. So
I've only spent a week in California. We went to a tiny mining town called Darwin, where I started exploring the mines like an idiot. So I'm going with that one.
I love it.
You're gonna love it.
I love it. That's awesome, man. Matthew, thank you so much for calling in from sunny Hawaii, Japan.
Catch you later.
All right, we'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.
Aloha.
I'm so excited. Standing by, we're going to do a quick break here for just a second, if you'll indulge me. But standing by, Alfredo, Joseph, Cherie, John Arminio, and Sam. So excited to talk to all of you. So please be patient and give me just a second to welcome everybody to the Mission Log Patreon, which is at patreon.com/missionlog. Of course, you can get swag, you can get exclusives there. You have the Mission Log Discord, which truly has become an incredible community on its own. You heard Paul mention it earlier today. Also, Paul, he's there. All the Pauls are there. That's where we hang out. That's where we chat, and we love it. And today, we dropped a very special interview literally minutes after we finished it. We talked to Mike McMahon today. So it was great. Mike, in all of his unfettered, uncensored glory. We talked about the wrap of season 2. We talked about, and I will not spoil it here, we talked about how he sees the future of Lower Decks and how much Lower Decks he wants to do. So if you want to hear that, you need to go listen to the full interview. Now, there will be an edited version that goes out in the supplemental feed for Mission Log, if not tonight, then tomorrow. But all the exclusives, all the uninterrupted, unedited stuff, that goes to patreon.com/missionlog. Go check it out. It's great. And then stick around for the Discord because you can chat with us live about that week's mission log. So that's it. You know what to do. Patreon.com/missionlog. We'll see you there. Enough of my yammering. Let's go to our next guest. So glad to see him again calling into the show. It is Alfredo calling from the bridge of the USS Enterprise, which is lit up and gorgeous. And it's awesome to see you again, Alfredo. Welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you. Good to see you again. Love to see you in Vegas last time.
Oh, absolutely.
When you were there, it was great to see you with Larry Nemechek.
Hey, he is quite the Trek-spert. I aspire to that level of Trek-spurtdom.
I got the chance to tour his wife in Mexico City a couple of years ago. So.
Oh, excellent.
If you ever come here, I'll do the tour for you.
Oh, done. Done. I'm down. Excellent.
Okay.
Well, what's on your mind tonight about Lower Decks, Alfredo?
Well, a lot of things, but basically is I constantly forget that it was an animation show. Mm-hmm. I kept getting excited about the story. I got about what I was watching, about the ships, of course. We need Eagle Moss working overtime here.
Yes,
please. We need the Archimedes. We need the naked Cerritos too.
Yeah.
Oh my God!
Please.
Yes.
Yeah. But also, I think that the great thing that Lower Decks has been doing both seasons is that you're having fun during the season, and suddenly the season finale surprises you and makes you emotional and gives you thrills and gives you adventure and surprises, of course. Before it was Titan. Now we have all this, all the story that keeps going, and also a big best of both worlds-ish ending with a to be continued. But only that this time, at least we know there's a next season coming.
Right. Yeah. Very true. You know, wait, does that just spontaneously happen in your room there? A little bridge noise?
Bridge sound effects.
That's my cell phone.
I love it.
He's popular, John. We're not as popular.
I know, clearly. Yeah. That is one of the things that I feel like it's less so now, but maybe 10 plus years ago, 20 plus years ago, the stigma that animation is a method of storytelling that is only worthy for kids fair and things that are to be taken less seriously. And certainly Lower Decks is a comedy show and they lead with comedy, but I don't think any of us would be as excited about the prospect of more Lower Decks if they weren't absolutely nailing the character stuff and the storytelling. So it shows that animation is just this very flexible It's not a genre. It's simply a method of storytelling that allows you to do many different things, and they've used it to their full advantage here, being able to tell heartfelt as well as funny, as well as this week very dramatic stories incredibly well.
The show is a cartoon, but it's not cartoonish.
Well said.
The humor is coming from the characters. It's not because they're making something ridiculous or stupid or cartoony.
Yeah. See, that what you just said, that should be the blurb that goes on the DVD box.
Truly.
Right. Alfredo, any other thoughts tonight before we say goodbye?
I'll just keep watching you guys and waiting for the next shows, and hope I can still come on with you guys. But it's always a thrill to talk to you.
You are absolutely welcome back anytime. We look forward to the next.
Okay, thank you.
All right, cheers. Take care. All right, and now we get to say hello to Joseph, who has been waiting patiently. Joseph, welcome to the show.
40.
What is that? That is the strangest thing. Maybe we're having technical difficulties with Joseph?
I feel like it's only fitting at this point.
Was that one of those Beatles experimental albums where they landed finally on number 9, but they were experimenting with different numbers before they got there.
How far do you think they got? How far do you think Yoko got them?
Yeah,
to 100?
Yeah, could be. Well, Joseph, we'll put you on hold for the time being. We'll jump over to our next caller, and we'll come back to you momentarily. So so we're going to let that pause for a moment. We'll let Earl Green, technical maestro, take care of that while we go over and say hello to Cherie. Cherie, oh, I love this. Cherie Mugato in the name ID there. Cherie, welcome to the show. How are you? And if you start just repeating numbers, we'll know the problem's on our end. Oh, I believe you're muted. Let's see here. There you are.
All right.
Welcome.
Mercury's out of retrograde today. We're just getting the last couple reps in. That's all.
There you go. That's it. Yes.
Sure.
What's happening tonight, Cherie? What's on your mind?
Oh, Citation Ops!
Yes, girl.
They had little uniforms. It's like Mike McMahon pulled my brain open and looked inside and saw what I wanted.
Brilliant. So it's everything you wanted in Citation. That's how you pictured it in your head when they mentioned it on TNG all those years ago.
When I first learned about Citation Ops, I was like, well, they need to be wearing uniforms. I need to see them in uniforms. And they were wearing uniforms.
And I get the impression that these beluga whales are like very happy and excited about having uniforms. Like they certainly have a great disposition. So and they seem to be part of the team and very friendly, very, very friendly.
A little too friendly. I would have liked to see some more dolphins, but I can understand where Cerritos is smaller, so they probably don't have as many of the marine life. They probably have a smaller Citation Ops in the Enterprise, so they might not have as many of the dolphins.
Very true.
Headcanon accepted.
Mm-hmm. There you go. So what else are you thinking about the episode? I mean, other than there are huge excitement.
I had to write notes, so I'm just not like rambling, gushing, because like I loved everything.
Oh, wonderful. Lay it on us. Yeah.
I was so happy
in my yelling.
So happy. Like Ashley, I also want to see Jen and Mariner kiss. Anything. And I just feel like they gave us a hint when Mariner's like, you think about me all the time with your stupid little butt. She knows her butt. She's thinking about Jen's butt.
That's good. Yeah. That's good insight.
It's probably pretty good with all that yoga. So.
Nice.
But yeah, I just loved everything. It was visually stunning. I'm so glad that I usually eat dinner while I'm watching it, but I had eaten before, so I wasn't eating anything to distract me, because a lot of times I will look away from the screen a lot. And I was so glad I didn't, because all of it was so beautiful, especially when it explodes and they have to take the hull off and everything. It's visually stunning. movie level drama.
Indeed.
I think
Agreed.
that makes the stakes so much better. Like the stakes makes the comedy so much better because we care about the characters, and I think that makes it all line up so much better. And I was so happy. Like at first, like I was surprised that they went with like a smaller like guest star, because I feel like at this point they could pull in like a Michael Dorn or someone like that. But I was thinking along the lines of like morals, meanings, and messages. It's like it's great for the lower decks. It's perfect to have someone like Sonia Gomez because you know she came basically from the lower decks and like clearly promoted up to captain. So I think that's sort of the message of having her there.
Well, and you know, that's the kind of thing that I like is that we were all excited when we got Riker at the end of last year. We were all excited when we got Riker at the end of Picard. But I don't want every series to give us the same build up and payoff and the same anticipation and payoff. So I like the idea of slipping in that kind of very unexpected character like a Sonia Gomez. And if you are going to do something with, say, Worf, as was mentioned earlier, you know, don't just save that for the big payoff. Hey, look, we got a guest star. Like, let that character have a reason to be there. That's why I was so glad that Riker wasn't just treated like the, you know, sort of like a token guest star in this. Like, no, when they brought him back, he was there for good reasons. And we further developed the character of Riker, you know, we actually gave him stuff to do. So I hope they.
I respect that they did. I feel like they did that with Sonia.
I agree. I definitely
that
agree.
was their story, so they weren't going to be like, well, we could bring in like a bigger name actor, but that's not what the story is about. So I respect that they stuck with like having the story be more important. And
I
also
also
just
think
how many female captains there are. I love this show for that.
Yes.
I also think in terms of what we do here, it's kind of more fun when they're a deep cut or a specific reference. Look, I mean, I hope everyone shows up. I hope Geordi shows up and Deanna and everyone. But to be like, oh, the girl who spilled her like, are you kidding me? That's amazing. I think that's where Lower Decks inhabits. I think particularly with we've seen some of those people in live action, like on Picard and stuff like that. So I don't know. I kind of like seeing the smaller characters revisited. I think it's fun.
Yeah. By the way, brilliant suggestion from Chris Riker in the chat. We need to see Dr. Solar. Susie Plaxon, I totally agree. Yes, that needs to happen. Let's see. Tate recommends, what about Jellicoe? And, by the way, speaking of other captains, I wrote down some of my favorite dialogue from the episode where Mariner refers to the new captain possibly being some weirdo with a riding crop, which was great. Also love when they were talking about Captain Freeman Day. Isn't that a craft day for toddlers? Not anymore.
The callback of the sign was excellent.
Yes. And then even Cetacean Ops, even they refer to it as like,
calves.
Yeah, it's for calves. So good. There were just a ton of great lines. Even Shaq saying, you're lucky I'm so spiritually centered or I'd snap. And I hope everybody laughed as much as I did when Billups just loses it with a tirade of profanities that get bleeped constantly. Brilliant, great choice to save him for stuff like that. So good. Yeah.
I did want to ask you guys, because I know that you were talking earlier about the to be continued. And like, it didn't stress me out like normally to be continueds do. They usually like stress me out because I want to know what happens next and I hate cliffhangers. But I feel like we kind of know it's going to be okay. Like we know what ultimately is going to happen. We just don't know how we're going to get there. That's the more interesting part. So I'm sad that I have to wait a year to figure out how we get there, but we know she's going to be okay. And I just want to know like what you guys think of, because actually, I saw the Ready Room interview with Mike McMahon, and he was almost trying to be like, "Oh, you know, did Captain Freeman do it?" I'm like, "Come on, Mike. You know, we know we know she didn't do it."
Yeah,
he got NDAs to worry about though.
Yeah, it might be that. I also I would love to see maybe something call back to like the Star Trek movie where Kirk they they have a clip of Kirk's personal log where he's like, "I'll never forgive the Klingons for the death of my son." I wonder if they're gonna like pull something from Freeman's personal logs about the Pakleds.
Oh, I like that bit of speculation. Nice. Well, excellent. And the good news is, we know that because of animation's schedule and the type of lead time they have, they've already knocked out that story. So they're already doing it, and I can't wait to see what comes next. I guess the to be continued doesn't really bother me in the respect that, I would like to know the story, but like you just said, we know that Freeman is coming back. We know that Freeman didn't set off a bomb under Pakled City on planet Pakled, underneath a lot of Pakleds in the Pakled system, We know that she didn't
if she did, she's been really busy on those off-screen moments where we're not watching her.
Exactly. So it's just the interest and, keep us coming back for the next season. So excellent, Cherie. Any other parting thoughts before we say
just
goodnight?
that I feel like this is like an animated series for next gen. Even though it obviously has some of the next gen characters, but it's not specifically the next gen characters, but it's kind of like we got an animated series for the next generation, and I think that's one of the things I love about it.
Yeah, I totally agree. Cherie, thank you for calling. Great to see you as always. And until next time.
I'll miss you guys.
Hey, we'll be back around. All right.
Yeah, until next year.
See you later. And let's see. Hopefully the audio mysteries have solved themselves, so we can go over and try Joseph again. Oh, he's got a mic. Joseph, let's see. Let's take you off mute. How you doing?
Apparently a lot better with this microphone.
Yes!
Wow, night and day now. How you doing tonight?
All right. Yeah, the other mic was the StreamCam one, and I've never had that happen before.
Well, there's a first time for
keeping you on your
everything.
toes.
Yeah, it was fascinating what came through. So
Yeah, and I couldn't hear it on this end. I asked to ask them what was happening, and he says, well, we kept getting something that was like 40, 40, 40,
Yes.
40.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, this wasn't like Revolution 9 Part 2,
right? Yep.
But so I figured, let me try another microphone on it. I'm going through a USB interface. I figured, let me try that out and see what happens. So
Hey, you sound like $1 million. So what is on your mind tonight?
This is a Shure mic.
Oh, see, there you go. There you go. So what are your thoughts tonight about Lower Decks?
Well, I have to confess, I have only seen season 1 so far because I do not have Paramount Plus or any of that.
Boy, we really spoiled it. Yeah.
Well, I'm okay with it because by the time it comes around, I'll probably have forgotten half of it, so that's fine. Yeah. But what I'm hoping for is that there are some original series cast members that have not had a chance to appear on any of the series yet, namely William Shatner, Nichelle Nichols, Walter Koenig, and George Takei both appeared on Star Trek: The New Voyages,
right?
Where Walter Koenig got to reprise Chekhov as his older self, where he ages up and then becomes his right age. But that was a very good episode of that, and it would be nice to see some, because this is animation, and they can get Captain Kirk back in some capacity. Hologram,
Yeah. No, you know what? As you're talking about it, there's something that you may have caught going back to season 1, toward the end. I can't remember if it was in the last episode or the next to last episode, where I think it's Mariner looking at a pad, seeing Kirk, but it's animated Kirk. It's TAS Kirk. Remember that? Yeah.
Yes, it was from the animated series.
Yeah. So you literally could do something like that because they exist in that form in this world that Lower Decks has created. So whether it's a historical record or a holodeck or whatever, you could have those characters with those voices. Sadly, we don't have Jimmy Doohan anymore because he did all the male voices on
Yeah,
the
really.
animated series that weren't Shatner or Nimoy or Takei. But yeah, they could do something very clever like that. I would be down for that.
Yeah, I
Me
would.
too.
I would definitely, love to see them do that because it's not like that show isn't known for callbacks.
Right, exactly. Yeah,
They
could
throw
definitely
in
do
about a
something
dozen
earned.
or two in every episode. So
Yes. Well, all right. Tell us this: have you gotten to the end of season 1?
yeah, I got through into the entirety of season 1.
Okay, good. All right. So you saw the dramatic build, you saw the big payoff and the big dramatic moments of that. So I'll just encourage you that season 2, even more so. I think these last 2 episodes have just been incredible. So when you get around to it, you'll have a lot to enjoy there.
Yeah. So are you guys going to be doing that, covering these on Mission Log in a decade or so? Or I have been trying to keep up. I've been listening since the first episode.
Wow! Thank you.
And I'm only a couple behind at the moment. So
Wow.
I've been trying to keep up.
Well, thank you for that. Yeah, there are plans afoot. You know, Norman and I still have to go through. We're going to finish up DS9. We're going to do Voyager. We're going to do Enterprise. So there's a few years to go with those. Presumably, then the JJ movies, because in order of release, those came next. And then it's a big question about how we handle modern Trek, because modern Trek storytelling is very different. But there you go. Ashley's giving me a hand signal for exactly what that is.
Nobody can see me. It's a visual medium.
But yeah, it'll be different. I've talked to Rod about it, and we'll announce something in due time.
Yeah. By the way, mind if I ask you a question totally on a totally different tangent here?
That's fine, and then after that we'll have to move on. We've got 2 more callers standing by.
All right, yeah. This is hopefully a quick one. The Trill, originally on Next Generation, they were quite different from where they wound up on Deep Space Nine.
So wait, you're saying that Star Trek isn't perfectly internally consistent from episode to episode, season to season? I'm shocked. I'm shocked.
Oh yeah. No, well, the first episode, the Trill, the personality seemed to be entirely the symbiont.
Yeah.
And the host's personality was pretty much subdued. When the symbiont went into Riker, it was the symbiont, not Riker.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
And it wasn't whatever the symbiont's like. It wasn't like Riker or whatever the symbiont's name was. It was just the symbiont. Then when we got to Deep Space Nine, they made it a bit more. I guess the word I'm looking for is equitable.
Mm-hmm.
Because it seemed like the host was more like a slave to the symbiont. Yeah.
And could have just been something to do with, they hadn't fully worked out if those were going to be a thing that came back. So you write the story that you're writing at the moment, and
yeah. So you could just blow that off, because it always bothered me. They made all these rules about the Trill later on that were totally ignored retroactively in the in Next Generation. Like, Trills aren't supposed to take up with their old lives.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And in the meantime, you had the Trill going through 3 different hosts, or 2 different hosts rather. 3 including the original one. And we're all going after Dr. Crusher, and it was
indeed. Well, Joseph, I agree, and this is fascinating stuff. We need to stay on topic to Lower Decks. No, hey, this is good stuff for a regular Mission Log, and we can talk about it over there in our Discord, Facebook, and wherever, and we will dive deeply into Trill myth and legend.
Okay. I am great. I am looking forward to season 2 of Lower Decks whenever I can get my hands on that.
Excellent. Well, and certainly call us back then as well. All right.
All right. Will do.
Have a great night. Cheers, Joseph. All right, folks. So those of you who are sticking around, we are running a little bit late tonight, but you know what? We have so many great calls. So why wouldn't we stick around a little late and take more of these great calls? So welcome to the show, John Arminio. How are you doing tonight?
I'm I'm great. Thank you for having me on, past 11. I appreciate it.
Well, thank you for staying up.
It's 8 in our time zone, so we got nothing to complain
It is.
about.
And thank you to Earl for staying up. He's in a different time
Yes.
zone. So, yeah, thank you. What is on your mind tonight about the finale of Lower Decks? Season 2. Yeah.
This, Lower Decks is a show that just continues to subvert and defy my expectations because I'm usually not somebody who ships characters. But I don't think I've ever
you just triggered
internally
Ashley.
screamed, "Are you two gonna kiss or what?"
Yes!
Like when Rutherford said, "I can't forget Tendi again."
My
Yeah.
heart.
One of the sweetest things I've ever seen on television.
Oh, yeah.
And the fact that he has triple backups of every memory of her
Yes.
is such like a romantic gesture, and it's not even intentionally romantic, which makes it even more romantic. Like, it's just so adorable. Like their affection for each other is so innocent, but also even with that, I'm just so like, kiss. Damn it.
All right, so 2 things about that. One, yes, you nailed it absolutely about the beauty of that gesture. And I love Billips's follow-up line, like, well, if you aren't making new memories, what's the point?
Yeah.
Beautifully said. That's like perfectly said. And I loved, rewind a little bit in the episode when they're walking around the Cerritos visiting their favorite spots. And then total, the subtext of the scene is something very different. I love the Cerritos. Yeah, you know what? I really love the Cerritos. They love each other, but they're talking about the ship, and it was beautiful, and it was great. Yes, love that scene.
And the fact that he's willing to delete the backups of the memories means he has faith in the strength of their friendship. He has faith in the abilities of his crewmates that he's not gonna need those backups anymore.
Yeah.
So those backups are really just his insecurity about losing that connection to Tendi again. But he knows that with the strength of the friendship and the connections he has with his crewmates, he's not going to have to lose them again.
Right. Perfectly said. Exactly.
Oh, thank you.
Anything else on your mind?
No, I will step aside and scream to the heavens. Kiss, damn you!
Okay, when they do, you must call back, and we must talk about it.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. You and Ashley definitely have bonded over this. Totally agree. Awesome. All right. Well, John, take care. Have a great night.
You too. Thank you very much.
And Sam, thank you so much for sticking around late. I love it. People in the chat are saying, look, it's a season finale. It's supposed to run 20% longer. That's what Dave says. And Tate says, but our bedtime. So thank you, everybody who's sticking around just a few minutes after. Really appreciate it because I'm dying to know what Sam has to say. Sam, all the way from our Patreon Discord as well. Love seeing you there for our weekly chats there. What's on your mind tonight?
Yeah, I've been liking Lower Decks more and more every time. I think last week was my favorite episode so far. The second to last one for sure. So I was trying to think what about this one, and this one is like the cinematic one again. For the season, and so what I was comparing it to was the big operation of the whole thing coming together and them having to take it panel by panel is cinematic. And I think the reason it feels cinematic to me is because that's what they do in the movies.
Yeah.
The ship is always okay until the movies, and then it's like things come apart in ships in movies.
Yeah.
The saucer comes off, or they crash on a planet, or it's destroyed. But it specifically reminded me of First Contact, where they're all outside trying to take the deflector dish off. So this is just that, but more, because every panel has to come off.
Right.
So that's what I was thinking of the most.
And can I just mention something here that is, Look, I've said before on the live show that we're not here to just blow smoke about new Star Trek. We're giving genuine opinions here, and certainly we welcome if there are critiques or problems that people have with modern Trek. I happen to think that even the things that I criticize about Lower Decks don't take away from my enjoyment of Lower Decks. I think it is an exceptional show, and I want to kind of piggyback on something that you're saying there about why I think it's so exceptional. What we just saw in the last episode and in this finale, they prove what Star Trek can do when it's really confident about its own storytelling. Mm-hmm. One of my criticisms about Discovery and about Picard has been, well, we're trying to tell this story where every season it's the end of the universe, and if we don't do this one thing, the entire universe will collapse and wipe out all life everywhere. Okay, how many times are we going to do that? Because what I just saw in these last 2 episodes of Lower Decks was a story about people and a story about a mission and a story about working together to do one task. And you know what? It was inspiring and it was funny. And as we all saw with the Rutherford and Tendi scenes, it was heartfelt and it was dramatic. Those scenes of the Archimedes losing power and in free fall, those scenes of pulling the hull plates off the Cerritos and racing to the rescue, it was dramatic and the music was great and it made my heart rate go up, seeing like, wow, I'm invested in this story. And it was just about the moment. It was about what they had to do then. It wasn't about all life as we know it ceasing to exist. So it shows to me that there's a real focus on what these stories can and should be to keep me coming back week after week. Mm-hmm. I'll put the soapbox away for now, but thank you for inspiring me with that, Sam.
I totally agree with the small mission. I thought also it was getting too much where it was like everything was at stake all the time. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't have to be like that. It can very much just be this one thing. It was kind of a weird dynamic in this episode because so they got put off to the side, and that was kind of the point in the beginning, is that like, you're just gonna stay over here and we probably don't need you. And then the whole thing went sideways. But we saw the scenes on the other ship of them trying. So like, it wasn't like they were just completely stranded. So there was a little bit of a question as I was watching the episode of, is like, are they going to find a way out? And then all the work that the Cerritos was doing was unnecessary at the end. Like, I was a little worried that was going to happen. But in the end, it didn't happen that way. So it was just more interesting to say, okay, yeah, the other ship, they're also really trying, and we get to see that. But they're just so out of options.
Yeah,
that try as they might, they needed the Cerritos.
And they all got to be heroes, which is the kind of thing that it is a valid criticism of Lower Decks. You can say, well, they can't just be a ship of people who aren't good at their jobs. Like, no, they can still be second tier. They can still not be the flagship, but they are good. They do have skills, and they do have bravery and courage and technical know-how, and we get to let that shine when it's the right time to shine. Sam, thank you so much. We stuck around a little late, and folks are saying good night, and they're also saying, Paul says here, we need a Lower Decks movie, and I do not disagree with you, Paul. Yes, I think you're right. So Sam, thank you for helping us close out the show tonight. Till next time.
Yeah.
All right. And Ashley,
see you later.
I can't believe we've arrived here at the end of season 2 and the
we
end
could take a couple more callers, it doesn't have to be the end.
Fair enough. Look, seriously, before we say goodnight to each other, is there anything in your notes or any burning thoughts about this finale that you need to get across before we call it?
I said this last week, but I think it's truer this week. This is my favorite episode that we got of the series so far, which is incredible. Because I feel like I've been saying that all season. Every episode has been my favorite episode of the series so far. I'm so honored that you asked me to come on and talk about the series. And, it was mentioned before me earlier, but I've also been listening since Mission Log launched. So this continues to be such a treat and such a joy. So just thank you for having me, and I'll see you in like a year or whatever.
I guess so. I love having you as part of the family, Ashley, and we will do something a year from now or sooner if we can. All right. Okay. Well, with that said, Mission Log Live is produced by Roddenberry Entertainment, executive producer Rod Roddenberry, technical production on Mission Log and Mission Log Live provided by the incremental Earl Green. Be sure to visit podcast.roddenberry.com for the latest from Roddenberry Podcasts. If you'd like to support Mission Log directly, give us a look, please, at patreon.com/missionlog. Thanks to everyone who joined us live or later. Stay safe, stay healthy. We look forward to talking with you next week.